lack of experience. Was there a way to give him more help in hindsight? Were there things that you could have done with the safeties to possibly prevent some of those early, deeper passes against him?
You know what? Obviously, with every situation, you learn a lot. Absolutely, there could have been more. I know that we had a certain game plan going in throughout the entire course of the week, and we still thought after that first series did our best to try to get him some safety help. But again, it's I'll give credit to Brian. He did fight his tail off, and it was unfortunate that on a couple of occasions when we felt like we needed to take a shot based on situation and third down, Fitzpatrick did a really good job in making the right read and getting the ball where it needed to go. And so, but like I said, there's always opportunities to grow and learn as an individual, and I looked at that situation no different.
Hey, Robert, watching the Rams, it looks like they've improved the pass protection, and they've really dialed it back to shorter passes, focusing on yak, kind of like your own offense does. I'm wondering if there's been any, not, I guess, deja vu in practice, but in working with the scout team, if what the Rams are giving this year reminds you a little bit of what your own offense ran, especially last year. There's
definitely some similarities. I think Sean's done such a fantastic job with regards to building his own identity within the system. They're so precise in what they do. It seems simple because you only see a couple of formations, but they've got little nuances within everything they do, whether it's run game, pass game, boot, play action, drop back, all of it. They do such a nice job of creating little wrinkles that keep you guessing, all within a system that just seems so simple for their players because they execute at such a high level. They're very, very precise in what they do. They're always moving forward, and they create very advantageous situations for themselves, which allows them to get the ball out of Goff's hands very quickly. So kudos to Sean. I think he's fantastic, and it's been and they're definitely much improved from a year ago.
Hey, Robert, with all the injuries you guys have had at cornerback, how important has Verrett been, and how have you seen his game just sort of progress as he's been able to put a couple weeks together now in a row?
Yeah, he's gotten better every single day. I mean, he's got such a great mindset to him. There's a reason why he was an All-Pro in his earlier years before all the injury luck hit him. But his film study, his practice habits, his attention to detail, all of it is fantastic. And so again, same thing for him. I'm really impressed by him as an individual. You can see why he's been so good throughout his entire life. But for him to just continue focusing on getting better every single day and continue on the track that he's on, I'm really excited to see how far he can get it.
Robert, Emanuel Moseley has been such a stabilizing force for your defense ever since he started playing in it last season. What are his strengths as a player, and how did he slip through the cracks of the NFL scouting community?
That's a good question. When you're talking about Mose, it's so subtle because the guy, first and foremost, he's got such a great mindset with regards to being fearless. He does not care who he's going against. He does not care the situation. There's no situation too big for him. He's got such a great mental toughness to him and a great mindset to him. He plays with unbelievable technique and strength at the line of scrimmage. He does not panic at the catch point. He doesn't panic at the top of the routes. So all of it, from a mindset standpoint and just a personality standpoint, he's got no panic, no fear, and great technique. And then on top of it, you get into the mental aspect with regards to understanding route combinations and understanding plays. And you got yourself one heck of a corner. Sometimes kids slip, in the draft process, but it doesn't mean that they're not good enough. It just means that they got a different opportunity than people who are drafted. And so that's what makes those undrafted guys who make it special, because they've got that mindset. And when you talk about Moseley and his mindset, I mean, shoot, after practice, he came right up to me after a period, and he was like, Saleh, what was that route? I hadn't seen it before. And I was like, they messed up the card. So, and he was able to recognize, like, I haven't seen that route on tape, but the card got messed up. And so I was like, good job, man. I see you. So it's, so for him, he's awesome.
Robert, what has to change, or how did you guys address sort of what happened with Akello last week and whatever lapse in communication there might have been that led to you guys having to start Allen on Sunday? And also, do you wish you took Allen out and made that switch a little bit sooner?
For the first question, Coach had already covered it on Monday. It's like the perfect storm in the sense that we led all the way up till Thursday night with an assumption Akello was trying to fight through what he was trying to fight through, and it didn't work out. And that's well documented with what Coach had to say. I don't know if there's much to add to it, but with regards to the events that transpired actually on Sunday, you watch it go, and on that first series. Very first play of the game, Brian's in fantastic position on the goal ball, and he loses at the catch point. And so when you look at it, it wasn't anything alarming at that point. We get through that series, and then the next series, things are going good, and we took a shot on with a pressure, and he got fouled right there. And so at that point, it became, well, let's see if we can get him a little bit more help, which led to that third series. And then that third series, I believe we got off the field on a 3-and-out. And in the fourth series, same thing. We went in with that same approach. But as soon as we took a shot, Fitzpatrick took his shot. And so at that point, it was evident that from just a structural standpoint and for Brian, we had to give him a break and see if we can settle it down. But again, I'm going to say it like for Brian. I mean, I'm very proud of the individual, and I mean this sincerely. I mean, he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's sometimes people get thrown into a fire that not that he wasn't ready for, but there's still a lot of room for him to grow and get better, and I'm still excited to work with him on a day-to-day basis. So.
Coach Saleh, you finally got your linebacking core all back healthy with Dre coming back, but now you're without Quan Alexander. We're all aware of the intangibles that he has, but what do you miss with him not being on the field? And have you seen any improvements in him in his second year in this defense?
Yeah, I thought Quan had his best game of the year of his time here as a Niner last week. I know it doesn't go noticed when things go so bad, but his tackling has been much improved over the last couple of games. The thing that you lose in Quan is just that the hair trigger, do something that just wasn't coached aspect of a player's game. You know, you've got guys who play things by the book, and they're not going to, they do things right. They're not going to hurt you, but they're not going to do anything outstanding. But then you get a guy like Quan who is fantastic in terms of taking shots. And earlier in the system, he'd take a shot and be like, not that time. It's just, but as he figured it out and figured out where he can and can't cheat, his shots became more and more consistent. And so you just lose that instinctive nature with Quan, along with, like you said, all the intangibles. But the instinctive part to the game that he's got is what makes him special and why he's had so much success in this league.
Hey, Robert, I assume your job involves some part-time psychology, and I'm just wondering if this week you're like, hey, that performance is not who we are as the 49ers, or is it like, hey, we've got to piece this together and we're going to figure it out? I mean, or is it a little mixture of both?
You're always trying to get better every single day. Every once in a while, even the greatest ones get punched in the mouth, and I still believe that this is a top 10 defensive unit, top 5 if we're on our stuff, and it doesn't change on who's on the football field. We're a fantastic group. It's got a fantastic mindset, and one game doesn't define what I think is an unbelievable defensive unit. So for those guys to understand and recognize what they've done and what they've been able to accomplish in this league is not defined by one game. You just talk to each individual by themselves, and they'll tell you the exact same thing. They're not shook at all. They're ready to get back on the football field and continue to prove how good they are. So.
Robert, with Emanuel Moseley making his way back, is your cornerback situation still in flux going forward? And then also, what have you seen from Jamar Taylor? What's your assessment of him since he's arrived here in Santa Clara?
On the first question with Emanuel, anytime someone gets healthy, it gets a little bit more stabilizing. You know, you just you kind of get the guys back who've been through the fire and continue to do things in the way that you want them to. So that's always helpful. With regards to Jamar, I think he's doing a really nice job, and I mean that. He's incredibly smart, very detailed. He's a competitor, fighter. He's already made some plays for us. He's a calming force also, just because of his football IQ and his ability to get people lined up and communicate. So really happy Jamar's here, and I'm looking forward to him getting better every single day and holding down that nickel spot.
Robert, I don't believe you have any cornerbacks on this roster who are signed for next season, but you do have a bunch of young guys. Tim Harris, Ken Webster, Brian Allen, and Parnell Motley. Are you evaluating these guys? I mean, is that a season-long evaluation for all of these young guys who may not, get up to the active roster? I mean, are you kind of conscious of which young guys might be part of the plan for 2021?
100%. That's a really good question. So with all those guys, one of the greatest things that I think this organization does is we develop football players better than anyone in football. And I believe that all the way from our training staff to our strength crew to management to coaching, all the way across, all the way down. And so we spend so much time watching their scout team reps, so much time after practice, trying to make sure they're getting reps that they may have not have gotten because the ones aren't getting the reps. There's a lot of extra time put into continuing the development of those guys. So to answer your question, that coaching, that investment, with that coaching and investment goes in an evaluation on whether or not they're capable of taking that next step. Because we're constantly engaging ourselves with them, and just not, you're on the practice squad, go do whatever you do for the scout team. It's, we take those reps, we have individual meetings with those guys, and we're continuing to try to get those guys better every single day, because the reality is, just like last week, you never know when that guy might get called up because of injury. And so we're constantly trying to stay engaged with those guys to get them better every day. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Thanks, everybody.